Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. All right, everybody, I'm back. Good to be back. Want to go ahead. So first of all, Saturdays, obviously for the past, 4 months have been college football centric. We're going to have a playoff next week, so we'll get more college football here going forward on Saturdays. But what I will say, no college football outside of Army, Navy, and the FCS championship, playoff. And so I bring it up because the TV programmers gave us a great slate of games. We're going to have full reaction on Sunday night's Aaron Torres pod. But I do want to do a deep dive on a game that just went final in Rupp Arena. Louisville and Kentucky, two first-year head coaches, two programs that I feel like have a lot of juice, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement around them, even though Louisville has been dealing with all sorts of injuries. Kentucky, of course, dealing with the injury of Lamont Butler coming into Saturday. Well, I bring it up because the rivalry lived up to expectations. Kentucky wins 93-85. Thought it was a very resilient effort by Louisville. Thought it was a great win by Kentucky. So let's go ahead and dive deep into that one. So a lot of thoughts on this game. I think, first of all, again, I said this. First of all, I said it on the show on Thursday, and apparently some people got mad. I said, I think this is the most kind of angry, I think there's the most bad blood in this rivalry of any rivalry in college basketball. Carolina and Duke gets a lot of praise and a lot of hype and a lot of history and a lot of this and a lot of that. But as we said, Duke and Carolina, with Duke, most of their students don't come from North Carolina. They're from Jersey and New York. They go back to Jersey and New York after they graduate. These are two schools that are right near each other. I've made the drive many times from Louisville to Lexington back and forth during my days in that state. Fans are on top of each other. Fans don't like each other. It's one of those you'd rather, you get more joy out of not losing than actually winning because you can't stand the other fan base if you don't win that game. And so I bring it up because I think this is always a heated rivalry. I think obviously the last couple of years with Louisville struggling, with Kentucky kind of just not a lot of juice in the program with the previous coaching staff, it felt like there was a lot coming in. The building felt great. And let me say this, got a little bit chippy there mid-second half. Brandon Garrison, Rain Smith dives on the floor for a loose ball. Brandon Garrison grabs him. There's pushing and shoving towards the bench. Mark Pope doing his best Usain Bolt impression, sprinting over the bench, breaking things up. So listen, the intensity is back. The excitement is back. I thought it was a great game. In terms of big picture takeaways, I think the obvious one, where I'm going to start. We'll start with Kentucky. We'll get to Louisville here in a second, but we'll start with Kentucky. And there's only two words to describe Kentucky's victory and how it happened. Those two words, Lamont Butler. Maybe it's three words, Lamont freaking Butler, okay? And if there is one reason that you could describe why Kentucky won this game, it is because they had Lamont Butler. Louisville didn't. And Lamont Butler, listen, I think in 1 year, in one game, has already etched his name in the history and lore of Kentucky versus Louisville and this rivalry, okay? This game and this performance by Lamont Butler. Now, first of all, it's worth noting, just his first game back in general in 10 or so days since the Clemson game. He's coming off that ankle injury. Well, there was no sign of rust. If anything, everybody needs to sprain their ankle because Lamont Butler just had one of the best performances across the board that we've seen in college basketball this year. 33 points in this game, 6 assists. But here's the important part. Of those 33 points, 10 of 10 shooting from the field, 6 of 6 shooting from three. Jay Billis brought up the point during the game. Lamont Butler only had 7 made threes all season long. He has 6 in this game, 10 for 10 from the field. I believe that's the third highest number of made shots without a miss in a game in Kentucky history. I think it tied Justin Edwards from a year ago. Blast from the past name that I wasn't expecting to mention on this post-game coverage. But it shows you the kind of historic game that Lamont Butler had. And listen, I'm not going to do the whole Torres knows everything. Torres has, I'm not perfect. But I said the day, you can go back to the day that he committed, and I might have producer Matt pull the audio from that show in April. because what I said was this kid has been labeled a defensive guy, a this, a that, or whatever. I said this kid has so much more in his offensive bag than anybody realizes. It's just at San Diego State that has never been asked of him or pretty much anybody. That is a program. They play a slow tempo. They don't shoot a lot of threes. He was the point guard that kind of had to set up the offense. But if you watched them the last couple of years, you knew he was capable of things like this. And I think we now have a track record where there's a lot of guys that go to San Diego State, but sometimes they end up somewhere else through the portal and really kind of thrive and blossom offensively. We've talked about it. Keyshawn Johnson played at Arizona last year, was seen as a wing defender energy guy. All of a sudden, he plays at Arizona. He's one of the best players in the Pac-12 last year, and Lamont Butler is trending to be one of the best guards in the country in all of college basketball this year with the way that he is playing at Kentucky. And so I've said all along, the bottom line, it's not just he's a defender. It is that he is a complete player, a complete point guard, and he can do anything you need. You need him to run the offense and get others involved. He could do that. You need him to put the ball in the basket. He proved he could do that. 33 points in this game. And listen, I thought it was a really solid team effort from Kentucky. Otega Oweh, to me, really stood out, made a couple really nice shots late, big shots late. And so you look at what he was able to do in this game. A couple hammer dunks early, the hammer dunk late, the big three-pointer late. I know he probably shouldn't have shot it, should have just pulled it back out. But again, a team-wide effort. But to me, the real story was Lamont Butler, 33 points, 10 of 10 shooting from three. We'll get back to Kentucky in a second. Do want to spend half a minute and talk about Louisville. I know the big blue part of the fan base will be mad at me for saying this. I thought it was a great effort from Louisville. I really did. Because if you look at this Louisville team, now I was higher on them coming into the preseason than most. I said I think they have the chance to be the third best team in the ACC. But the bottom line is this is a team that is dealing with all sorts of injuries right now. We talked about it on Thursday's show, but Kayshawn Pryor, who was playing really well for that team, goes down with a major injury in the Bahamas. He was basically, I don't want to call him a big guy because he's not really a big guy, but this was a guy that through 7 games, which averaging 12 points, 6 boards, wasn't shooting the ball great, even though historically he's been a pretty good three-point shooter. But he is crucial to what they do. He's not available. Boubacar Traore is not available, who was a very good player last year at the mid-major level. And then even in this game, kind of worth noting, right, is you go through what happened in this game. James Scott, who's been asked to play a bigger role, essentially doesn't play at all because of foul trouble. It's a little after the game, so I don't have the exact stats, the exact number of minutes played, but the kid barely played. He probably played less than 10 minutes total, maybe less than 5 minutes total. Beyond that, you look at the fact that Terrence Edwards Jr., who had 23 points in this game, was basically in foul trouble all game as well. And so I actually thought there was some great resilience from Louisville. I thought that they showed out well. And if I'm a fan of Louisville, I would be proud of that team. And I think they deserve credit for fighting in Rupp Arena. They were clearly shorthanded. They only were able to play 7 guys. A couple of them were in foul trouble. They only had 8 healthy bodies altogether. And really, they did what they could. Every time that Kentucky felt like they were going to blow the game open, Louisville was able to cut into that lead. Chucky Hepburn, another guy that I said all spring long, I said, this guy's so much better than most people realize. Never really had a chance to show it all offensively. Was able to show, I think, America today just how good he is. Just real quick, big picture, for Kentucky, listen, I think when I look at this game, wasn't perfect, but what did I say in the preview on Thursday's show? I said that I believe that you look at Kentucky, there's so many different guys that can beat you. We talked about Otega Oweh. We talked about Andrew Carr. And this just shows like any given night, they got 5-6 guys that can beat you. Sometimes it's going to be Jackson Robinson. Sometimes it's going to be Otega Oweh. Sometimes it's going to be Kobe Brea. And so I just bring it up because this was more proof that this team, I think they're going to be so tough as we get into SEC play. The SEC is going to be a bear, okay? But at the same time, if you look at this Kentucky team, I just think they're positioned so well because they have so many guys that can beat you in so many different ways in this game, and not just in this game, but in general. And I think that's going to play well over the course of the season. Tega Owe hasn't been great every night, but he was great on Saturday night. Lamont Butler isn't great every night, but he was phenomenal on Saturday. Kobe Brea, again, he'll have his moments. Jackson Robinson, et cetera. Andrew Carr, et cetera. I think this team is going to be so dangerous. I think there's a reason this team is averaging 93 a game. And I think you got to be excited about this group going into SEC play. For Louisville, it's kind of the same. Listen, we just talked about it, but you just look at the stats. I mean, Kentucky shoots 58% from the field, 53% from three. Louisville gets out-rebounded by 10, and they have a chance, if a couple shots go a different way, to be in it towards the end. So I just bring it up because Louisville, just keep fighting, man. The ACC is, I think, pretty up for grabs once you get past Duke at number one. Carolina has not been great. Clemson's pretty good, but they lost to Memphis the other day. Other than that, I mean, it's like, who do you watch in the ACC that you're like, yeah, Louisville doesn't match up well with them? Get healthy, stay out of foul trouble. Louisville's going to be just fine, but congrats to Kentucky. 10-1 for the first time since the 2016-2017 season, De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk. And I think the best is yet to come. Really quickly, if you're not subscribed to the Aaron Torres podcast and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, do me a quick favor. Make sure to do so. New clips, new videos going up every single day. Oh, by the way, you already know how I'm going to end this segment. If you do not have your Hope and Pope t-shirt, make sure to get yours now. AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. We're running low on certain sizes, but I just bring it up because there is still time to get some before Christmas. We appreciate your support.